Madonna stopped her concert and told 15,000 people she had something more important to share than music. She taught them a Kabbalah lesson about light, souls, and divine purpose. What happened next left the entire arena in spiritual awakening that nobody expected. June 3, 2016. The Forum in Los Angeles was packed with 15,000 fans for Madonna's Rebel Heart World Tour. The show had been incredible so far. High energy, elaborate choreography, costume changes, everything you'd expect from a Madonna concert. The crowd was exhausted in the best way possible, singing along to every song, completely immersed in the spectacle. Madonna had just finished performing Material Girl, and the audience was screaming for more. The stage lights were flashing. The dancers were moving into position for the next number, and the band was preparing to launch into the opening notes of the next song. But Madonna didn't start singing. She held up her hand, signaling the band to stop. She walked to center stage and sat down on the floor, cross-legged, like she was settling in for a conversation. The crowd's screaming faded into confused murmurs. This wasn't part of the show. What was happening? "I need to stop for a minute," Madonna said into her microphone, and her voice was different. Not the performer voice, but something quieter, more personal. "I know you all came here for a concert, and we're going to get back to that. But right now, I need to share something with you that's more important than any song I could sing." The arena went quiet. 15,000 people, who moments ago had been jumping and screaming, were now sitting or standing perfectly still, waiting to hear what Madonna had to say. "How many of you know what Kabbalah is?" Madonna asked. A few scattered cheers and raised hands throughout the arena. Maybe a couple hundred people out of 15,000. "Okay," Madonna said, nodding. "For those who don't know, Kabbalah is an ancient spiritual practice. It's about understanding the nature of the universe, the nature of our souls, and how we connect to something bigger than ourselves. I've been studying it for over 20 years, and it's changed my life in ways I can't even fully explain." To some people in the crowd shifted uncomfortably. They'd come for pop music, not a religious lecture, but something about the way Madonna was speaking, the vulnerability in her voice, kept everyone listening. "I wasn't going to do this tonight," Madonna continued. "But something happened about 20 minutes ago while I was backstage changing costumes. I had this overwhelming feeling that I needed to share something I learned recently, something about light." She paused, looking out at the crowd. "I know this might seem weird. You paid money to see me perform, not to hear me talk about spirituality, but I promise you, if you give me 20 minutes, what I'm about to share might change how you see everything. Is that okay with all of you?" The crowd responded with applause and cheers, curiosity winning out over confusion. "Okay," Madonna said, smiling. "So let me tell you about light." What happened over the next 20 minutes was unlike anything that had ever occurred at a major arena concert. Madonna, one of the biggest pop stars in the world, taught 15,000 people a Kabbalah lesson about the nature of divine light and human consciousness. In Kabbalah, Madonna explained, we talk about something called Or Ein Sof, which means endless light or infinite light. It's the source of all creation, all energy, all existence. Every single one of us is a vessel for that light. We're not just physical bodies, we're containers for divine energy. She let that sink in for a moment before continuing. But here's the thing that blew my mind when I first learned it. Most of us are walking around completely unaware that we have this light inside us. We get so caught up in our problems, our fears, our day-to-day struggles, that we forget we're connected to something infinite and powerful. The arena was dead silent now, People weren't just listening politely. They were actually engaged, leaning forward, absorbing what Madonna was saying. "The reason I wanted to share this tonight," Madonna said, "is because I was backstage and I saw one of my dancers crying. She's been having a really hard time lately. Personal stuff, family stuff, the kind of pain that makes you question if life is even worth living. And I sat with her, and I told her what I'm about to tell all of you." Madonna's voice got softer, more intimate. "You are not your circumstances. You are not your pain. You are not your failures or your mistakes or your fears. You are a vessel for infinite light. And no matter how dark things get, that light is always there, inside you, waiting for you to remember it exists." Something was happening in the arena. You could feel it, this shift in energy. People who'd been standing started sitting down on the floor, the way Madonna was sitting. Others were holding hands with the people next to them, even if they were strangers. Some people were crying. "The Kabbalah teaches us that we choose our lives before we're born," Madonna continued. "We choose our challenges, our obstacles, our pain, because those are the things that help us grow and reveal our light. Everything that happens to us, even the terrible things, is divinely orchestrated to help us become who we're meant to be." A man in the third row shouted out, "How do you accept that when really bad things happen?" Madonna looked directly at him. "That's the hardest part," she said honestly. "I'm not going to stand here and tell you it's easy to believe that your suffering has a purpose. But here's what I've learned when you shift from asking, 'Why is this happening to me?' to asking, 'What is this trying to teach me?' Everything changes. You stop being a victim and start being a student." She paused, and when she spoke again, her voice was thick with emotion. "I lost my mother when I was 5 years old. For most of my life, I was angry about that. Why did she have to die? Why did I have to grow up without a mother? It felt so unfair, so cruel. But when I started studying Kabbalah, I began to understand that maybe, just maybe, that experience was meant to teach me something. Maybe it was meant to make me stronger, more compassionate, more determined to create something meaningful with my life." The entire arena was crying now. Not dramatic sobbing, but that quiet crying that happens when something true hits you right in the chest. I'm not saying everything happens for a reason in some simplistic way, Madonna clarified. I'm saying that we have the power to find meaning in everything that happens to us. We have the power to transform our pain into purpose. That's what the light does. It transforms darkness. She stood up, and the band began playing soft, ambient music in the background, creating this almost meditative atmosphere. "I want to try something," Madonna said. "I want all of you to close your eyes right now. Just trust me." Slowly, 15,000 people closed their eyes. "Now I want you to imagine that there's a light inside your chest," Madonna said, her voice guiding them like a meditation. "It's small at first, maybe just a tiny spark, but as you breathe in, that light gets bigger. It fills your chest, then your whole body, then it starts radiating out beyond your body." The arena was completely silent, except for Madonna's voice and the soft music. "That light is your soul," Madonna continued. "It's been there your whole life, even when you couldn't feel it. Even in your darkest moments, it was there. And right now, in this moment, you're connected to every other person in this building through that light. We're not separate. We're all part of the same infinite energy." She let the silence hang for a long moment. "Okay, you can open your eyes." When 15,000 people opened their eyes, Something had shifted. You could see it on their faces. Some looked peaceful, others looked stunned. Many were still crying, but everyone looked different than they had 20 minutes ago. "Thank you for letting me share that," Madonna said, and her voice was humble, grateful. "I know it was intense. I know it was weird, but I had to do it." Sometimes the most important things we can share aren't our talents or our performances. Sometimes the most important thing is just the truth about what it means to be human and to have a soul. The applause that followed wasn't like normal concert applause. It was slower, more reverent. People were standing, but they weren't screaming. They were just acknowledging that something profound had happened. Madonna wiped her eyes and smiled. "All right, should we get back to the concert?" The crowd cheered, but it was different now. The energy had changed. What followed was the rest of the concert, but people experienced it differently. They weren't just watching a performance. They were feeling something deeper, connecting to the music on a level they hadn't before. After the show, something unprecedented happened. Hundreds of people stayed in the arena long after the concert ended, just sitting together, talking about what they'd experienced. Strangers were hugging, exchanging phone numbers, sharing their own stories of struggle and light. The forum's security staff had never seen anything like it. Usually, people rushed to leave after a concert, eager to beat the traffic. But that night, people didn't want to leave. They wanted to hold on to whatever it was they'd felt during those 20 minutes. Social media exploded. Videos of Madonna's Kabbalah lesson were shared millions of times, but more interesting were the personal testimonials. Thousands of people posted about how that 20-minute lesson had changed them. Some said it helped them forgive someone they'd been holding a grudge against. Others said it gave them hope during a dark period. Many said it was the first time they'd ever thought about spirituality in a way that felt real and accessible. Not everyone responded positively. Some critics accused Madonna of using her platform to push religion. Others said it was inappropriate to mix spirituality and entertainment. But the vast majority of people who were actually there that night said it was the most meaningful concert experience they'd ever had. Madonna received backlash from some corners, but she didn't back down. In an interview, a week later, she said, "I could have just performed my songs and sent everyone home entertained. But I had this opportunity to share something that might actually help people, something that might remind them they're more than their struggles. I don't regret it for a second." The experience changed how Madonna approached her concerts. She started incorporating more moments of reflection and teaching into her shows, though never again quite as extensively as that night in Los Angeles. But she'd proven something important, that people were hungry for meaning, for connection, for something deeper than just entertainment.